live right now. I am back, Brett with Trumpet Lessons, with another live stream. And if I'm here live, what that means to you is somebody didn't show up for their trumpet lesson this afternoon. Actually, it was expected. It's not, so I didn't get stood up, anything like that. But when somebody doesn't show up, I'm trying to get in the habit just to start this live streaming a little bit more often. Maybe I can add a little bit of value to people who are just hanging out. Maybe see a little pop-up on YouTube that I'm here, and maybe add a little bit of value. Maybe give you a little bit of a tip when that you can put to practice in your own playing. I realize the way this comes out, if you happen upon this live on a Friday afternoon on YouTube, you may not even be a trumpet player. You may not even be a brass player. Most of the time, that's just fine. In fact, today we're going to talk about, well, my lesson for Jack was going to include two things. One of them is going to be specific to brass players. So if you're a trombone player or horn player or something else, the topic's still going to be appropriate. And one is for very basic counting, the very basics of counting rhythm. So that'll be helpful to beginning musicians of any instrument. So if you're still here, if that describes you, please feel free to stick around just a little bit. I'm trying to, obviously I keep telling you I'm new at this streaming, and so I'm trying to get my whole act together. Right now, I'm not seeing the chat, and I think I should be able to see that, but I'm not quite sure why I'm not seeing it. So I hope that's going to just pop up. And maybe there's not a chat because there's nobody using a chat. So if you are here, please speak up, introduce yourself, let me know where you're from. And we're not going to stay here very long today, so please feel free to chime in on the chat. I will let you know as soon as I can see that. And I'm just double checking here because, oh, hang on, hide chat. Nope, show chat. Okay. Now I will be able to see any comments that show up. And again, it's a Friday afternoon, so hopefully you're not sitting at home watching your computer waiting for something random to pop up on YouTube. Hopefully you're out doing something productive and enjoying the few hours to the start of your weekend. But if you are here, in fact, I'm going to leave this video up even as a replay. So I'll leave it up at least for the weekend, see how that goes, if it's helpful to somebody. So if you're coming across this one more time, I'm going to take about 5-6 minutes here. One of my students, Jack, is not here today, so I've got an open slot. So instead of going and doing something else during that time, I decided I'm going to practice my live streaming and try to come out to you and use the same lessons, talk about the same topics that I was going to discuss with Jack with you. So there were two topics that we were going to cover that we talked about last week. But to give you a little bit of background, Jack is a very new trumpet player. He's only been playing a matter of weeks. In fact, a short number of weeks. I think about 4 weeks it is now. So he started with barely even being able to make a sound on his trumpet. Not the prettiest sounds. Jack, if you're seeing this, not to be insulting to you, right? It's normal. We've talked about this. Everybody starts off this way. So the great thing about being a brand new beginner is there's only one direction to go. You can only go up from here. So that's the good part about it. We were talking about making a tone on his trumpet. So one of the things that people, when they first start learning to play a brass instrument, we're going to say trumpet, but generalize this to brass if you play a different instrument, is that idea of making a pitch. And a lot of people will say, well, you got to go, pinch the lips together and blow. It's true with a grain of salt. The grain of salt is, it's very possible to go, and real, to go, right? The air's coming out of my embouchure, it's coming out through my lips, but my lips aren't buzzing together when I do this. Yes, that is an approach, and that's what I really recommend to my students who have no trouble making a sound on their trumpet, is open this up and make more of a instead of a. As a way to get started, when I'm working with my new students, I will use that buzz reference because that's something that people can kind of wrap their head around. that whole idea of, if you can make that sound, let me hit right? One translates into the other, eventually making the trumpet sound. But what a lot of people will do is they want to try so hard to get that buzz, and they'll pinch down and cramp down on these muscles here, which is great, by the way. But that tension is also going to spread toward the center. And when the air comes out, it's coming out of this tiny, pinched up, really tight hole that's, you know, a lot of spittle and a lot of pressure coming out there. And what I'm working with Jack is to open that up a little bit, right? Keep the tension tight really here, but opening up and relaxing this a little bit here. And one analogy I use is that I understand that it's kind of strange. It's like asking somebody to make a really tight fist, but take just one little muscle, maybe the pinky muscle, and just try to relax it, and keeping everything else really tight. That's the same idea here. Out here, really tight. Right here, flexible, soft, and supple, relaxed. So I was asking Jack, let me see if I can pull up a screenshot here. The Saints is what Jack was working on. So not that you really need this visual here, but again, this is more for my practice than for your benefit. But if it helps, great. So he's been working on the Saints, or he was starting on this last week, and the notes were coming out pretty well, but everything sounded really, really pinched. So instead of 3, 4, his was coming out sounding a lot more like. Okay, now if that second one sounded like you, just to let you know what I'm doing to create that sound is I'm pinching down right here in the center, right? I'm tightening that up and really clamping down on my lips here. So if my sound sounds a lot like yours, that's probably a good indicator that that maybe you're pinching a little bit too tight right here in the center. So what I've tried to do is get Jack to realize you can keep this tight, but do and not. All right. A lot of people will say if I go here, then I'm going to sound like. If that happens, you're a little bit too wide, right? The aperture, the hole where the air is coming out, is a little bit too wide. So close it up a little bit. Right? So as I gradually close that aperture, you can hear how the sound transitions from straight, windy, open air with no pitch to an open sound. Caveat here, or a little disclaimer: as I play this, right, your results aren't going to be nearly that fast. I wish it were that fast, but it's just not. It's just something that you've got to develop here. Some people, that progress happens a little faster than others. Other people just struggle with it for a long time. But the point is, tight here, loose and supple here, so that that tone comes out sounding nice and open and not really pinched off. All right. The other thing, and by the way, looks like just a couple of people have joined on. Please feel free to jump in on a chat. Just say, hey, let me know you're there. If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer the questions, even if it's not my original intended topic. So that's absolutely fine. The other thing that I was going to work with Jack on was his timing. So last week when we had our lesson, his playing sounded a little bit like this. So I'm still on the Saints. That's what I'm looking at. 2, 3. Oh, sorry. I'm not even going to count it off because that's what his mistake was. His song was sounding like. Okay. Not a problem. What was good about that was he was getting the right notes. The fingerings were good and the notes were in order. Perfect. What was missing was any semblance of time, right, and tempo. So one of the things that I start off with my beginning students, and this will apply to any musician, regardless of instrument. I try to get my students to do the whole clap and count exercise. I call it the clap and count routine, and that basically means whatever rhythm they're looking at on the page, right? They're going to read the music, but instead of play the trumpet, just clap it with the hands. At the same time, we're vocalizing the 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this case, well, let me back up just a little bit. Just to get it started, I just have people count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, my students, I get the eye rolls. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I say, no, 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 not 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To a strict tempo, even with a foot tap. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very simple process, but if you allow yourself to get lazy, then your time is also going to be lazy when you play your music. So if you can do the 1, 2, 3, 4, great. Add the foot tap. 1, 2, 3, 4. Add the clap. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You get where I'm going. You can do this, a lot of people, in your sleep. Okay, that's the starting point. The next step is to take a very simple rhythm like this. So in the Saints, I will have people, sorry, let me see if I can pull my pen out here. When there's a quarter note rest, I'm going to have them say rest, and then 2, 3, 4. The hardest part, believe it or not, is this whole note. A lot of times people's brain just will take a vacation on a longer note, right? We focus really hard on the changing notes, and then when we get to a long note, we say, whole note, I hit it, great. Well, how long do you hold a whole note? Hopefully, you know, you hold a whole note 4 beats. But make sure that when you're counting, you don't let your brain take a vacation when you get to that whole note, because in the first measure, you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4. When you hit that whole note, you still got to hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a lot of people will actually release the whole note on 4. Technically, it goes all the way up to beat 1 of the next measure, which in this case is going to be rest. So the way I like my students to count this is 1, 2, ready, go. Rest, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. Okay. So that's where I had him go. The next step is to apply that to the trumpet. So I always try to get my students to add a foot tap as soon as possible. There's a little bit of coordination involved. And for some people, again, just like everything, for some people it comes easier than others. Other people really have to struggle. If my students struggle, and if this is you, I will really encourage you to force yourself to use the foot tap on the very simple rhythms like this. Because if you can do it, once you can do it on the simple rhythms, it's only just a matter of baby steps where you can do it, and it'll help you with the more advanced rhythms. This whole concept of the clap and count techniques, the foot tap, really, really crucial in reading the music accurately. One of the hardest things I do, and one of the biggest struggles that I have as a teacher, is with some of my students who have been playing for a while, but they've been lazy on their rhythm. Right? Then they're in a habit, and they're playing music that is technically a little bit more advanced than what we're looking at right here. But they can't figure out how to get those rhythms right. So it's about right, but it becomes a problem when they're playing in a band and they're expected to stay with other people. So the idea on this one, if you can hear my foot tap, 1, 2, 3, 4. There at the end, I wasn't going to make it, but we'll talk about breathing another time. That's a whole nother topic. So that's it for today. Those were the topics that I was going to discuss with Jack, and actually we're going to pick that up tomorrow, so we're going to help him out again. Thanks for watching. Glad you're here. Stay tuned. I hope to do some more live casts, live streams, whenever anybody has to reschedule or can't make their lesson. I hope to, instead of just do something else during that time, come on YouTube. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more used to this whole process of the live streaming. So for example, I should be able to go back and forth and come back here full screen. So little things like that I still struggle a little bit with. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful to you. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the trumpet. eTrumpetLessons.com is my website. eTrumpetLessons.com. I talked about my students that I work with. These are my live one-on-one students, not the people that have purchased the recorded video program, but that's on the website as well. I work with my live students one-on-one via Skype and live chat, Zoom, sometimes Hangouts even. So if that's something you're interested, again, you can find out all the details on that, etrumpetlessons.com. I don't see any questions in the chat, so that's all well and good. So hopefully, I said it was going to be 5 or 16 minutes, and look at the time. It's been a whole 15 minutes already. So that's enough of this Friday afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. And I can't even say when, but it will be next time I have a cancellation. Okay? Everyone take care. Bye now.